This is Coffee and Conversations by Sambalatte, episode number 2. And today we have a privilege and an honor to have Myron Martin, the CEO of the Smith Center. And Myron has been in the entertainment industry for so many years. And Myron is going to talk to us today how Smith Center started, about his career in baggage so many years. And it's so exciting and fascinating that we're all going to hear. We're going to learn so much about not only about Myron, but about the Smith Center as well. Thanks for being with us today, and thanks for inviting to come over here. Such a beautiful spot.
Yeah, here we are in Reynolds Hall at the Smith Center, called one of the top 10 theaters in the world by Polestar magazine.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's a really special place. This is my happy place right here where we're sitting right now.
I can see that.
Yeah.
So I want you to talk about yourself, how you got at the industry that you have been, how the Smith Center started, because I know pieces and parts, but it is fascinating to hear how everything really starts.
Well, I started in this industry in the 4th grade.
Wow, okay.
Here's my story. In the 4th grade was our biggest field trip of the year, or our biggest field trip of elementary school. And it was a trip to Jones Hall, the Performing Arts Center of Houston, Texas.
Okay.
And Jones Hall was this beautiful, majestic place that I had never been to before. Mm-hmm. And this was a day where we were told to be on our best behavior and to wear our best clothes. And that morning we went to school and we were really excited. And when we boarded the bus, everybody was really excited about going to the Performing Arts Center in Houston. And as we made our trek and pulled up in front of Jones Hall, I saw for the first time this extraordinary building. And as it happens, we walked through the grand lobby and they escorted us to our seats, which happened to be 8th row center.
Okay.
And I sat down in these seats and I felt something on my hands, which was mohair fabric.
Okay.
Look behind me.
Okay.
All 2,020 seats behind me are covered in mohair fabric because of that experience.
Wow.
I knew what that felt like, and I'd never felt it before. And about that same time, the house lights went down and the curtain went up, and I got goosebumps. I got goosebumps all up and down my arms, and I knew that I was doing something special. I also knew that this was for me.
Great.
And in the 4th grade, I started what became the trek to create the Smith Center in Las Vegas.
What a dream.
It was a dream, an extraordinary dream. Mm-hmm. And it's thanks to some amazing community leaders, people like Don Snyder, our board chairman, and Dr. Keith Bowman, and Nancy Housels, and Scott McTaggart, and a group of people who got together and said, we're the largest community in North America without a world-class performing arts center. We need to change that. Las Vegas. I mean, we were the entertainment capital of the world, but we didn't have this.
Right.
We had a place to entertain, but we didn't have a place to kind of nourish the souls of people who live here. Mm-hmm. And that was our challenge 20 years ago, to create just that. Okay. And today we're sitting in it.
It's a beautiful place. And I was asking you before how the idea, the location, and how long did it take to raise the funds to build? How was the challenge that you encountered? Maybe we can talk a little bit more about that.
Well, so back in the early days, this group of community leaders got together, and the truth is...
How long ago was that?
That was, at this point, more than 25 years ago.
Oh, it's a long time.
And they said, not only are we the largest community in North America without a world-class performing arts center, but there are a lot of other things that if we're going to be a world-class city that we need to improve on, add. One of them was professional sports. We didn't have that back then.
Right.
One of them was an academic medical center, and one of them was a world-class performing arts center.
Okay.
That became our task, to change that. And why? The story back then was a little bit about arts and culture and about inspiring kids and adults alike. Mm-hmm. But it was also a story about economic development It was a story about downtown redevelopment. You know, this entire downtown
I do remember
has changed.
10 years ago was
Yeah.
nothing here.
That's right. That's right. And a lot of things happened. You know, Tony Hsieh brought Zappos to downtown Las Vegas, and all of that Fremont East started happening thanks to him.
Developing them.
And the Smith Center brought something that became not only the focal point to downtown, but it became the anchor for our community. Back then I called it the living room for Las Vegas, right? This is a place that no matter where you live, what community you come from, what your parents do for a living,
Right.
what your background is in any facet, this is the place where we all come together,
Right.
no matter where you live.
Right.
This is it. This is our gathering place. This is our living room. And for that reason, things like, since we've opened, things like the memorial service for the fallen police officers, Metro police officers that you remember were killed at CC's Pizza a few years back.
Yeah, I do remember.
That memorial service was held on this very stage.
Okay.
It's a place where we can come together to mourn, to celebrate. This very stage has been the backdrop for weddings, as has our grand lobby out front, graduations, joyous occasions, and of course, all the wonderful shows. We, in the last 365 days, we did about 500 events at the Smith Center.
Great.
Performances.
I just told them it was 200, so 500.
Yeah. It's more than one a day, obviously, that happen here. So I feel lucky that we're actually sitting here, that there was an hour on the clock that we could get here and sit on the stage, because it never happens. In
So it
fact,
was the right time.
it was the right time, and you noticed when we came in, there were stagehands everywhere preparing for the next big event here.
Right. So how the design, I understand that you travel the world looking for the right space, a concept. Can you tell about the experience, how did start and develop, and how you decide? Because I know you now for a while, and I know that you're very detail-driven individual.
Yes, that's true. That's true. Meticulous, I think, is what somebody called me, and I'm not sure they meant that as a good thing, but
No, it's a good thing, because you set your standards high.
yeah.
And higher and higher, and you don't compromise.
So before I tell you about the selection process for the architects, let me go back one more step and say that this is a project. This entire campus is a project thanks to a public-private partnership.
Okay.
The City of Las Vegas, Clark County, and the state of Nevada all had to come together to make this possible.
How was that an easy process?
No,
or-
no. Any public process is difficult, but to engage all three government entities in our area together made it especially hard. I mean, for instance, a bill was passed at the state legislature approving a rental car tax, a tax on rental cars at McCarran Airport.
Okay.
It said that if you or I have our car in the shop at any of the area service places, and we needed to rent a car for the day out in the community, that you wouldn't pay the tax. But people flying into McCarran Airport would pay a 2% tax on rental cars.
Okay.
Now, back then that meant, the average car was about $30 a day. It meant adding about 60 cents to the tab. Okay. It was a marginal amount. And the truth is, people pay these taxes in cities across the
Everywhere
country.
in the world right now.
Everywhere you go.
Yes.
So that happened. Of course, the rental car folks weren't so sure that it was a good idea, but just about everybody else did. And that was approved at the state legislature, but they did something interesting. They said to the Clark County Commission that we are going to approve it, but you have to actually implement it. Clark County Commission never implemented a tax like this before, and it was an election year.
Challenge.
It was a challenge. But at the end of the day, when they voted for a rental car tax to help support a world-class performing arts center, the vote was unanimous. The hall at the Clark County Government Building was completely full. There was standing room only, and it erupted into applause.
Outstanding.
Yeah, and in fact, they had to take a recess following this vote because there was so much enthusiasm in the building. Cool. Yeah. And the city of Las Vegas, who's been our partner since the beginning, I mean, they provided the land, the parking, the infrastructure, meaning utilities to the curb and all of that, and the environmental cleanup. Where we're sitting right now used to be the Union Pacific Railroad Yard. Okay. This is where all the trains would come into Las Vegas. This is also where all the trains would get refueled. And it meant that as, you know, they filled up a tank and some of it spilled, it went into the soil. Okay. And there was an extensive environmental cleanup involved in getting this site ready for the Smith Center. And that was all thanks to the city of Las Vegas. Okay. They have been extraordinary partners for the Smith Center since day one.
That's great.
And I can say that about the city, the county, and the state, because this is a project that means a lot to our community, right? We're not a commercial enterprise. We don't make money when we sell tickets. In fact, to make certain that tickets are as affordable as possible, part of our financial design is to have to raise 25% of our operating cost every year so that we can keep our ticket prices as affordable as possible.
So the public can come.
That's right. That's right, because this really is built for those of us who live here. And of course, when our friends are in town visiting from other places, we want to bring them here, right? Right? But we want you to be able to afford to do that. And so we raise 25% of our budget every year to make sure that families, no matter where they live in Las Vegas, can afford to come here on occasion.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So the design now about...
Sorry. That's right. You did ask me about design.
I love your enthusiasm. Because it is so much. You know what I mean, you said you create such a great spot. It's such a visionary cultural for the city, because this 100, 200 years from now, we're going to be people are going to be telling the story about who was Myron, about the Smith Center, and how things were developed.
Well, this isn't about Myron. It really isn't. It's about a community coming together.
No, but you have the vision about create the space.
Well, but it's about so many people, right? It's about Don Snyder and his board leadership. It's about the Donald W. Reynolds Foundation. This space we're in right now is called Reynolds Hall. Reynolds as in Donald W. Reynolds. Mr. Reynolds owned the Las Vegas Review-Journal, Don Ray Media, Don Reynolds, Don Ray Media, which was all the billboards you used to see around Las Vegas, all had the Don Ray tag on them.
Yeah, I remember that, yeah.
And he owned radio and TV stations and newspapers throughout the western states. When he passed away, he asked that his estate go to help the communities that he did business in.
Oh, nice.
And his entire estate, which was about $1 billion, went for that purpose.
Okay.
The man who was in charge of the company was Fred W. Smith.
Okay.
This is called the Smith Center. Fred W. Smith, not the Fred Smith from FedEx, because the guy that started FedEx is also called Fred Smith.
Okay.
This is Fred W. Smith, who ran the Donald W. Reynolds Foundation. What they brought to us was extraordinary in so many ways. Yes, I can tell you about them over time donating $200 million towards the project. That's a big deal. But they also brought a sense of urgency, right? They pushed us to get it done. Right. And they pushed us to get it done right. They, like us, said if we're going to do this, we have to do it on the highest possible level. And so, leading into the question about architects, we took our design team around the world. We went to the Paris Opera House and La Fenice, and I'm going to stop listing them, but the greatest halls around the world, including many in the United States. And we took pages of notes, thousands of pages of notes, and even more photographs of things that we liked. And I can point to things around this campus that were inspired by some of the great buildings in the world. Okay. Things that we learned on these trips. And the Reynolds Foundation also helped us with that, because they said, if we're going to do this, let's do it really, really well. Don Snyder, our board chair, said, I don't want to do this unless we will be considered one of the best in the world. And that's what we set out to do. And as I mentioned early on, we are now recognized as one of the leading performing arts centers in the world.
So how many leading performing arts in the U.S. it is right now under the category of the 10 top? Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Out of the top 10 in the world this year, that's a good question. I don't know the answer, but maybe half are in the United States.
Okay.
And the other half are in other parts of the world.
Okay. It might be in Europe or some.
Yep. I know the Sydney Opera House is on the list, and but the fact that Las Vegas,
Right.
the place that many said would never have a world-class performing arts center like this, because we were already the entertainment capital of the world. We had more showrooms per capita than any other city, right? we know how to put on a show here in town. And a lot of people thought, why do we need this? Well, the truth is, we did a great job of entertaining tourists, but we needed to do a better job of inspiring our citizens. And that's what this has been.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. All right. So your question about 4 hours ago was about architecture.
Right.
I'm going to answer it. All that led us to a worldwide search. Because we knew at this point that we wanted to build something that was timeless and elegant and that would last for the next 100 or 200 plus years, our search then got smaller and smaller. And these trips that we took around the world meant an awful lot. I'll tell you an inside story. Mr. Smith and Steve Anderson and Wes Smith from the Reynolds Foundation and I went on a tour of the LA Music Center in Los Angeles. And of course that includes some great buildings that have been there for quite a long time, and it includes the Walt Disney Concert Hall, designed by Frank Gehry.
Okay.
It is the most iconic piece of architecture in California, perhaps, certainly in Southern California. It has served the Los Angeles Philharmonic very well. It's an extraordinary building. But as we were leaving, because we'd had many conversations about architecture, Mr. Smith grabbed me by the arm, and as we're just about to hop into the car to go back to the airport, he says, just do me one favor. And I said, yes, sir. And he looked at this glorious building called the Walt Disney Concert Hall, and he said, just make sure it doesn't look like that. Well, that helped us, right? It helped us in kind of understanding what kind of architect to hire. In his mind and in the minds of many others involved with the project, we needed to create something timeless, elegant, and lasting.
Right, very important.
That was based maybe a little bit in the Eurocentric forms, but somehow meant something to Las Vegas, right? So we did a worldwide search. We ended up with a firm out of Washington, D.C. Called David M. Mschwartz Architects. We liked him for a number of reasons. Bass Hall in Fort Worth, Texas was one of the models that we went to over and over again.
Okay.
And in fact, Paul Beard, who works here at the Smith Center, was my friend who ran Bass Hall for many years. We kept going back to that building because we liked it. It resonated with us. He also understood kind of what it takes to move people around buildings. He designed the Texas Rangers baseball stadium. He designed the arena where the Dallas Mavericks basketball team plays. That's a lot of people. Yeah, but getting that many people around, and two restrooms and two concessions,
the flow, the design,
all of that meant something to us.
Right.
But the fact that he knew how to design in a timeless way using forever materials like limestone and granite and stone eventually led us to him. That's who we hired.
Okay.
And it was David Schwartz and the rest of our design team, our acousticians and theater designers and all of the rest who were integral parts of this project, started taking those tours.
Okay.
It was that group of people that saw La Fenice and saw many of the great buildings around the world and took careful notes. to get us to what we have today. We couldn't be happier with the selection of David Schwartz. He was the right architect for us. And now that we're, 8 years in, we've been open for 8 years, I look around and think, I wouldn't change a thing.
I agree.
This place is so spectacular, and it works so well.
One thing I confess, every time that I come here, I say, this place is so beautiful. Even this morning, I was like, wow. It is really amazing, because when you come here sometimes, you see packed. And when you see empty, or like nobody right now, no show, we start walking around and start looking the little details that with so many people, you don't notice that.
Yeah.
But you see there was really attention, a well-designed and a very well-done spot.
Well, again, thanks to a tremendous architectural team, design team. I mean, I told you the story about mohair. That's why these seats are covered in mohair. But let me tell you how David Schwartz came to his conclusions about what this building should look like. And I hope that in this podcast you will show some exterior images of the building, because it's a giant limestone building like the great buildings around the world.
Right.
But Mr. Schwartz said, all right, Las Vegas became a city when the Hoover Dam was built. That's really when the growth started. And during that period in the 1920s and 30s, Art Deco was the architecture of vogue.
Oh, okay, as the influence.
Yeah. And Hoover Dam is Art Deco.
Right.
Some of the great buildings in the western states during that time period are Art Deco, and I can give you a list of some of the great ones.
I always wonder why I have the Art Deco influence now.
Yeah. Well, we wanted timeless and elegant, but we also wanted to avoid doing something that tends to happen on the Strip, and that's this notion that we're going to kind of mimic another building, right? So we have a pyramid. We actually have the front of the Paris Opera House as a part of the Paris Hotel, and there's an Eiffel Tower, right? And so we have all of that.
Right.
This, as a building to last for generations, couldn't be that kind of tongue-in-cheek tip of the hat. But it was okay to borrow from architecture and create something new and fresh that would, in fact, look like maybe it's been here a long time from day one, but certainly be able to last for generations.
Yeah, because the granite outside is ageless.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's exactly right. And the same is true with all the materials. You know, if we did a walking tour and I pointed to all the details as you've said, there are so many. The end caps just on the ends of all these seats.
Yes.
That was designed. Every detail in this building, every light fixture, everything
Even
was
the
designed
limestone
for
outside,
us.
there's some area they have the design too. So it was
Absolutely.
very well done. So how long was the process to design? Because it's such a massive design.
Yeah, 36 months of design.
Wow. Okay.
Of me traveling to either Washington D.C., where David Schwartz is based, or to Dallas, Texas, which is where HKS, our other architect, was based, every week to keep pushing the designs along.
For meetings and overlooking the design. And
yeah, and I mean, you look at, they say this is maybe the most complicated building type that you can come up with, because, well, let me give you an example. Above our heads, 100 feet up, this is the stage house where all the scenery goes up and down, and above all of that is a ceiling. But it's not just a ceiling.
A structure that to hold everything.
Well, it's a structure not only to hold all the scenery, but above the structure is 32 inches of concrete in the ceiling.
Okay.
You know why?
No.
They're helicopters that fly overhead sometimes. And we couldn't afford even the slightest amount of sound from a helicopter to intrude into the building, especially if something like a symphony orchestra is playing at a quiet moment. So that was part of the design. 36 inches of concrete are in the sub-basement below us, way below us. So there's a basement, and below that there's 36 inches of concrete, because we're not too far from a railroad track.
Vibration.
The vibrations of the railroad tracks.
Okay.
We couldn't allow those vibrations to move into the building.
Oh, it's amazing. The details thought about before
Yeah.
hand to avoid any obstacle, to disturb the shows.
Well, that's right. And so Reynolds Hall, for instance, is actually a building built inside of another building
Okay.
to make sure that none of those sounds, none of those vibrations can possibly enter into the space. And the firm Acoustics with a K out of Connecticut did an extraordinary job of making sure that didn't happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you have such incredible acoustic here,
Yeah.
and the sound system, the same thing, the lighting. It really is amazing what you guys have done here.
Well,
Quite impressive.
And the great part about it is that we are able to update all of this. We open with the best sound system for amplified shows that you could possibly get. The Meyer speakers that were in the air, the Yamaha console in the back, and all the amps and all the things that go with it. But these Meyer speakers, about a year ago, were already changed out. I guess it was year 6 of our existence, with the latest and the greatest, because Meyer came up with something even better than what we had before.
Right.
And if we're going to continue to be in the top 10 in the
Raising
world,
the bar.
Yep, we have to continue to improve. And so I appreciate you bringing that up, because that is what makes the Smith Center great.
Special.
Yeah.
So now you took 36 months to design.
Mm-hmm.
Now the challenge of construction.
Yeah.
A nightmare.
Listen, it could be a nightmare. This is going to sound like a commercial for the Whiting Turner Construction Company, but what was considered to be the most difficult construction type of project for us was manageable. And it was because we had an extraordinary construction team. I mean, every man and woman on the team from Whiting Turner was here to make sure that this was the best project it could possibly be. It's part of their legacy. It was part of David Schwartz's legacy, and the Reynolds Foundation, and Don Snyder, and Keith Bowman, and all of those who got us to this point. We couldn't afford to have any missteps in construction. And so they took it upon themselves. When something wasn't perfect, they ripped it out and they redid it, right? I didn't have to ask them to do it. They did it because they wanted perfection, because they knew how important that was to our community. So I sometimes I joke about it, but Whiting Turner really can't get higher accolades from me.
So how long did it take them to build the ground break until you opened the doors? How
3
long?
years.
3 years. Wow.
3 years of
6 years, the whole project.
for design development. That didn't include fundraising and conceptual and all the other things. But yeah, 6 years just for design and construction. And again, we all hear the stories about how construction projects get delayed and how the prices go up. 2 things happened at the Smith Center. We opened on time and we opened on budget without debt. And that, again, it's thanks to all those people that I keep thanking, but in this case, it's a special thank you to Whiting Turner for making sure that we did in fact open on time and on budget.
And what was the cost of the project?
So when I talk publicly about the Smith Center's project budget, I generally talk about $500 million.
Okay.
That includes the value of the land, which was donated by the city of Las Vegas, the environmental cleanup, the infrastructure, the parking, those things that the city provided. It includes all the design fees, and it includes the construction. And all it took, with lighting and sound and all the rest, to open this building on day one. And today, I think people would say that's a pretty reasonable price that we paid.
Okay.
But again, we set into this with Whiting Turner with a couple of things. 100% of our drawings were done.
Okay.
So when we said we want you to build these drawings, which was a stack this tall, they knew exactly what they were building. We didn't change our mind halfway through and redesign things, which is where oftentimes costs go up.
Okay.
We knew exactly what we were building when we started the project. We built what we intended to build, and Whiting Turner and our folks from the projects group in Fort Worth, Texas, managed the project in such a way that we opened without debt, we opened on time, and we opened on budget.
Now you open the doors. Now booking the entertainment. How you go now, how you do, how you think about, because I remember a few weeks ago, you remember, we're going to have the new Broadway series, going to be one of the best that we ever had.
Yeah, well, so Broadway is an important part of what we do here. Right. We were the first city to announce the tour of Hamilton, which was very exciting for us. And we weren't the first city that it played, but when it played here, it sold out almost immediately.
That's what I heard. That was in the news.
Yeah. And we just announced that it's coming back next season.
Okay.
We've not announced the dates, and we hadn't said when tickets are going on sale, but it's coming back already. And the reason is Broadway producers have come to love the Smith Center. Not only geographically is it an important stop for the tours that are going to the West Coast, but we treat our people really well. The backstage team, our production team here at the Smith Center are the top of their class. They're the best in the business. They treat the artists and the professionals who come here to perform at the highest level. Our dressing rooms and all the backstage, are so much nicer than most places. That
makes a difference.
That the artists don't want to leave, right? I mean, Broadway tours are here for a week or 2 or 3 or sometimes 5 or 6 weeks. When it comes time for them to travel to the next city, they're like, can we just stay? Right? They like it here.
So about all the entertainment, how are you involved in the selection for the entire year? Of course, pretty much you'll find the final decision might come from you.
Well, no, listen, I am blessed to work with the very best people in the business. I talked about the stage crew, but our management team, if this were a pro sports team, I wouldn't trade any player for any number 1 draft choice. I wouldn't do it. Everyone on the team is the very best. I have the highest respect for all of them. And so when it comes to booking, Glenn Meadis, who we were fortunate enough to get from the Mandalay Resort Group. He used to be in charge of all the entertainment for all of their properties. He's been here since we opened, and his team of people in the booking department. Paul Beard, the guy I mentioned that we recruited from Bass Hall in Texas, has been here. He's a key part of all of our booking decisions. But the truth is, when you're doing as many as 500 shows a year, you have to have a machine in place, right? I mean, there are people in our offices talking to agents and managers every day, trying to make sure that we're ready for the next season and the season after that. I mentioned Hamilton's coming back and we hadn't announced the date. That's because that entire Broadway season for a year from now hadn't been announced yet, but we know what it is. We know that there are 10 incredible shows coming to Las Vegas, and come January we get to announce all 10 of them and the dates that correspond to their playing here.
And what I understand that the Smith Center, we have a membership or seasonal ticket holders. How many do you have right now, and what's your goal to increase those numbers?
So the goal is not to increase. In fact, the goal might be to decrease a little bit. Yeah. So let me tell you a great story. We opened the Smith Center in Las Vegas about the same time that they were opening the AT&T Center in Dallas. A similar size, similar scale. Dallas was a larger market. The population is bigger. They opened a year before us, and they opened with 5,500 season ticket holders. And we said to ourselves, that'd be a good goal for us. You know, if we can, being a smaller market than Dallas, if we can open with the same number of subscribers as Dallas opened with, we'd be happy. 5,500. And then we opened, and we put our season tickets on sale for our first Broadway season, and we had over 10,000 subscribers.
Wow.
10,000 people signing up saying, I want to come to every Broadway show this year. And we've been at that level or higher every single year. Let me put it in context. There are approximately 2,050 seats behind me.
Okay.
Broadway shows typically play an 8-show week. So 8 times, let's call it 2,000, is 16,000 available seats per week for a Broadway show. 16,000 available, and we have 11,000 subscribers. Well, that means I only have 5,000 seats to sell to the general public. And so when Wicked and Hamilton and these big shows come, fortunately we're able to get multiple weeks to help accommodate the public. But when it's a 1-show week, people know to get their tickets early because there are only 5,000 seats available for the entire week to be able to come and see these big shows. So
hot tickets.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful to have hot tickets. It's terrible to get phone calls from people you really like and have to tell them that I'm sorry, I don't have any tickets to sell you. And there are many times when we are 100% sold out with no seats available anywhere.
Okay.
And that, while that may sound good on the surface, it's
but it creates another
challenging.
issue on the other end because the public, they can come because they're subscribers, they have the priority to come.
Yeah, that's right. But by the way, I'm enjoying this delicious Sambalatte coffee. Thank you.
Thank you.
You know, I go there every day.
So what kind of coffee do you like to drink at Sambalatte?
Well, I change it up. Today I'm having a latte, which is just perfect, and I love the little design they had in the top of the cup. I have to put a little sugar in my coffee, so and then I stir it up, and the flour goes away. Right, the beautiful design. But your coffees are always so delicious, and
Thank you.
and they're my favorite. Folks tuning in should know this, that that I recruited you for a number of years.
Since we opened Smith Center, remember?
Yes. In 2012, probably 2011, I went to you and said, we're opening the Smith Center, and I sure would like to have a Sambalatte there.
And we are very thankful to be here. You know, such a great organization to be a partner with.
Well, so here's the thing. These people travel to Las Vegas. They come here for their dress rehearsal, or they come for their sound check, and they always say, boy, where can we go to get a good cappuccino? And we used to have to send them places. Now we tell them to go out that back door right over there, and they're in Sambalatte, and they're thrilled. They're thrilled.
They love it. And we're very thankful because I think more, the thing about the shows, we have a different demographic, different people, special because the seasonal holder, they know that we're here, but sometimes the new people, they don't know.
Right.
And the location, but slowly they start coming, and with the whole developments happening so around here, maybe we can talk about what's happening here the next few years because it's really amazing. The whole face of the Symphony Park is going to change.
Yes, so Symphony Park, our neighborhood is 61 acres of land that only a few years ago was completely vacant. This was the Union Pacific parcel. The city was smart enough to trade a piece of land in a technology corridor a little bit outside of town for this prime land in downtown Las Vegas, because they knew that developing. Yeah, they did an exchange, and it was really smart on their part, because now they have this incredible downtown parcel where the Cleveland Clinic, Lou Ruvo Center for Brain Health is here, a beautiful Frank Gehry building. They're expanding. There are 2 new condo live kind of work spaces that are being built, all with kind of retail on the ground floor. There are a number of things coming to this neighborhood called Symphony Park. Across the street from us is the World Market Center, one of the world's great market centers for furniture.
Amazing, yes.
Yeah, it's huge. It's huge, and they're adding a convention facility. In fact, it's under construction right now. There's a bridge that now connects Symphony Park with downtown Las Vegas, with City Hall and the Golden Nugget and all the Grand Hotel and the others in downtown Las Vegas. So here's the thing we said 20 years ago. World-class performing arts centers create the impetus for development. The city believed us, and they still do. And now you see that we've come out of the recession, that developers are coming out, and this is where they want to put their projects. Why? Because they like associating with a building like this.
Right. And I think you creating a cultural hub of Las Vegas here. Because I heard a while back, and if you're still on the project, to build a museum on the other side here by the along the railroad. Still
Yeah. There's nothing I would like more than to have a museum here as our neighbor. We're working with the Nevada Museum of Art in Reno, and they have a group of people in Las Vegas with the goal of building a brand new, pretty fabulous museum in Las Vegas. And so my fingers are crossed that all that happens, and they become our neighbor right here in Symphony Park.
Okay, and there is a hotel coming as well, right? Across from us.
Yeah, all part of this development. I mean, there's so many things happening as a result of this catalyst called the Smith Center, and we say bring them on. I can't wait for the hotel to open. And by the way, the artists who perform here, how great would it be for them to be able to walk across the street?
Stay at the hotel,
Exactly. Stay right here. Yeah.
Even the whole crew, huh?
That's right.
Stay there. It'd be so convenient for everybody.
Yeah.
They don't have to ride. They can walk. Sustainability.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
Carbon footprint.
Well, and thank you for saying the word sustainability. We are in the world's first world-class performing arts center of this size to be LEED certified gold.
Okay.
Now, I'm careful how I choose my words there, because we're not the first LEED certified theater. In fact, there are some platinum certified theaters around there, some readaptive use kinds of spaces. But this is the first thing like this that is a green building. And it means an awful lot of extra attention had to be paid during design to make sure we got there.
Can you maybe mention some of the green initiatives that we have in the building to have their certification?
So if we went out in the lobby, you would see that all the walls are covered in stone.
Okay.
Well, we liked the idea anyway. As we toured European opera houses, we noticed that the floors and the walls were all covered in stone, and in fact, as we toured, people would say, this is Italian marble. It's been here since the building opened 150 years ago. We liked that idea. But it turns out when you build with a material like stone, especially on the walls, it means you're never going to have to paint. So there's no VOCs. Okay. You're never going to have to take the sheetrock down and replace it because something happens. That stone is there forever. So it's a very sustainable material.
As well from outside.
Absolutely, absolutely. And there was a list of things, including delivering daylight to all of the spaces, which our very clever design team was able to do. So to be a LEED certified green building means a lot to us. I think it means more to us today, looking back, than we even realized it was going to mean.
How big it is nowadays.
Yeah, it's so important that we take care of the planet.
Right. So you said you're from Houston, and how you end up in Vegas?
Well, you don't have nearly enough time for me to answer that question.
I know they used to be work with the Liberace in the old days, and
Yeah. So I grew up in Houston, Texas. I told you about my fourth grade experience, why I do what I do today. It led me to a career in the music business, which had me managing artists. I lived in New York City, and you're right, Liberace was one of the people that I got to look after, and about 200 others, including folks like Billy Joel and Bruce Hornsby and George Shearing and Dave Brubeck and Debbie Gibson and so many who were Baldwin artists, people who performed on the Baldwin piano. So I got to travel around the world with these folks. I had relationships with places like Lincoln Center and the Kennedy Center, and really got to know what these buildings were all about.
They look like.
Yeah. And so I lived in, New York, Chicago, Atlanta, Houston, Dallas, San Francisco, Sacramento, Las Vegas.
Okay.
A lot of the big U.S. cities. And I feel like all of those stops were all to train me for this, right? I think it all led to the opportunity to build a world-class performing arts center.
Have the vision for the space.
And just to put me in a place where I could I could make sure that this got done right. That I had such kind of disparate experiences that all added up to my ability to be able to manage this project. And I couldn't be happier with all the things that I got to do in my life, but I couldn't be happier to call Las Vegas my home and to call the Smith Center my baby.
Okay. And the other thing, sideline here,
Yeah.
a hobby that you have, photography. That you do such a great job. It's a great picture I have seen. You have showed me.
All right, I'm sorry, I have to put my Sambalatte cup down. Yeah, when I was a kid, I was a photographer. My father was an amateur photographer as well. He was a professional geologist, but he owned Leica cameras, the great German cameras, and I learned the right way how to shoot photography, and it's always been my hobby.
Okay.
And if we were to walk backstage at Cabaret Jazz, the space that on the 5th anniversary the board of the Smith Center named after me, which I still get a little embarrassed talking about, but
Myron's Cabaret Jazz.
Myron's Cabaret Jazz, 220 seats, where the greatest names in jazz and cabaret and Broadway stars all come to Las Vegas to perform. But if we were to walk backstage, we would see photos of all the people that have played there, and they're all my photos. You know, I'm there anyway, and the fact that I have nice equipment and I can shoot these incredibly talented folks and put their pictures up on our walls, it's just another little fun thing I get to do.
Because I know you like to shoot some photos here from upstairs, right?
From everywhere. Yeah, that's true. I have a badge that lets me get places that most people can't.
You can walk by and take some great shots. But I really appreciate you having the time to allow us to come here and to talk to you. Such a great, just fantastic and fascinating story about Howard Smith Center, about your life, entertainment. And now that you talk about all your experience, and shows like your passion and your commitment and your dedication that you have, why the Smith Center, it is what it is, because, I mean, of course they have all the people involved, but there is always, I would say, a leader, a thinker that is leading the pack and driving the bus, and I think you are one of those people in Las Vegas that makes a difference. And when people talk about Myron Martin, people are like, oh, Myron, the Smith Center, I know him.
Well, you're very kind. I'm just happy to be one cog in this wheel that gets to claim the Smith Center as a part of their legacy.
No, but I say you driving the bus in the day-to-day, all the experience that you brought to life, a vision that you had when you were a young boy.
Well, again, all of my experiences in life, including that 4th grade field trip, were all to prepare me for this.
Right. And all this helps so you have this great space to become an icon of Las Vegas and becoming the cultural hub of Las Vegas as well.
Yeah, and a cultural hub and more. I mean, you know, there was a time when we had a conversation about what we were going to name this. We named it the traditional approach, which is the Smith Center for the Performing Arts. Not unlike the Kennedy Center or the Lincoln Center, this was the Smith Center. But we at one point talked about naming this the Smith Center for the Arts and Entertainment, because Las Vegas is the entertainment capital of the world, and what we do on these stages isn't limited to cultural things. I mean, on this very stage performed Ringo Starr and his all-star band, and I could make a list of all the great bands who have played here. So I'm really careful when I talk about what we do here to make sure that people realize that it's a lot more than just Broadway. It's a lot more than symphonies, operas, and ballets. It's everything. There's something for everyone here at the Smith Center.
Very diverse.
Yes, yeah.
But really appreciate for your time and to allow us to come here to your house.
Really glad you're here. And like I said before, I'm really glad you and Sambalatte are here on our campus. You're now part of our family, and we couldn't be happier about that. I think I've gained a few pounds since you opened, but other than that, I couldn't be happier. So thank you.
No, thank you. It was a pleasure. Thanks for having us here, and thank you very much for watching Coffee and Conversations by Sambalatte at the Smith Center for Performing Arts with the Myron Martin, the CEO of the Smith Center. Thank you. Thanks for watching Coffee and Conversation, a podcast by Sambalatte. Please subscribe below to our channel so we can be alert to the future podcast that we're going to have. Thank you.